question of the day presented by Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats to Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh, Brackish Life. I've been on a little bit of a, what's the word you want to say? Traffic jihad, I guess would be the best way to put it. So I am presenting today's question of the day. My question, and Nick, you and I briefly talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you remember. What is your biggest traveling pet peeve? Now, driving like to work counts as traveling for this question. I would even say pushing a grocery cart would count in as this question. Just something where it involves people to understand that they have to manipulate their body to get around, or something they're like pushing or pulling.
Something that requires other people to have situational awareness.
Yes.
Which is you never want to be in a situation like that because they will never have the situational
I don't think it's
that
ever
you would
happened.
think they should. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would ask you two, what's like your biggest pet peeve with like traveling?
So right off the bat, I'm inclined to do like airport stuff here. I'm thinking like whether it's like the asshole in security that is like in like a full suit and has to take off their belt and their watch and undo their shoes, and who is just like, you've clearly never been on an airplane before. Or Harry, you and I have talked at length about this, what I refer to as the moron parade, which is getting off of an airplane, which should be the most simple thing to do. You know, you think that how many times in elementary schools did we have to line up like in a certain order by the door before we could leave the classroom? Like your teacher would make you do that. And for some reason, people get on an airplane and the second the plane lands, they feel the need to stand up and start moving around.
That one's bad too, because it's like a pretty common pet peeve. And so I feel like everyone's either the guy who does it or the guy who hates it. And there's no in between. Like I'll be on a plane and I'll see one guy get up and like, you know, jump as quick as you can to get a couple steps ahead or whatever. And I've seen other people get like visibly mad at him, like literally be like, oh, look at this fucking guy. Like it causes immediate tension and people get yelled at. And yeah, it's hectic.
It's bad. I mean, like if you're someone who's like older, you got knee problems, you got back problems, and you need to stand up when the plane lands, that's fine. I'm totally there with you. Sit in the aisle seat then.
Yeah.
Or just, you know, stand or crouch a little bit, whatever. You can stretch your legs a little, but you don't need to be in a big hurry.
I literally like, I don't take my AirPods out. I don't like move when the plane lands until the like 2 rows in front of me has started to get up and move. And then I'll pull my backpack up and think about, you know, getting up or something. But
as it should be. And that's like somehow like a uncommon thing. I will purposely sit until the person right in front of me is ready to go, and I can see it drive people nuts. Like, why isn't he grabbing his bag? I'm like, I don't have to grab my fucking bag. Like this is called an assembly line. You were taught that in kindergarten. Like, God, it drives me nuts.
So I've got 2 of them that come to mind. One, because you said the grocery store thing, and I feel like I've talked about both of these at some point on the pod before, but I'll run through them quick anyway. Number 1, grocery stores, especially like Costco, Costco or something like that. I really, really think that people should be required to take like a moving through space 101 course or something like that, because it's just unbelievable how like you can just be like driving your little grocery cart like normal, and there's just people like looking around and, oh, I'm going to stop right fucking here in front of you and not, you're right behind me. I didn't even see it. Like, fuck, have some awareness, like look around. It's not that hard. But yeah, of course it is that hard for these
totally
people.
with you on this one. And I feel like I have the worst luck for this, not necessarily at Costco, because if it requires me to just walk away from you, I'll do it just to not have to deal with the idiocy. But whenever I'm in like a supermarket, grocery store, I am flocked by old people literally driving their cart into my ankle. And I'm like, I finally snapped one time. I was like, if you want to reach through me, just say, excuse me, and I'll get out of the fucking way. Like, it's really not that hard.
It's also even worse, in my opinion, when you're like, let's say this used to happen to me all the time. I'd be like at like a department store, or like a grocery store with like my mom, or even worse, my grandma, and like they do it too.
Yep.
And I'm like, I do not want to be associate, or I'll be like, Mom, come on, like Mom, move. They're trying
Like,
to get like,
focus.
you see this guy? He's trying to get the fucking yogurt. Just like stop standing there in front of the yogurt. Oh God, it's brutal. But the other one, and I've definitely talked about this one. This is a car one. When you're merging onto a highway, when you're going on the on ramp, a lot of times there's the little like double signal thing, and you have to stop at it if you're the only car going. Like, let's say it's usually like a little side by side 2 lane situation.
Right.
Let's say like one car is driving in front of me, and then there's me, and it's just us two. I'm going at like, not full speed, but a fast enough speed to merge onto the highway, because I don't think he's going to stop, because he shouldn't. As soon as you get there, it turns green. Even if you just keep going, it turns green as you go through
Right.
it. So just go. I've almost gotten in like accidents because of this, because I'll just be going and then they're like, oh, there's a stoplight. And they like come to a full stop and they're like, oh, what do you know? It turned green right when I fucking stopped. No, don't stop. Keep driving your goddamn car.
And that's
and
like
don't get rear-ended by me.
That's a traffic nightmare too, because now you're 40 miles an hour slower than you need to be
Yes.
going, merging onto the highway, which is just a
Exactly.
disaster.
It's one thing if there's a bunch of cars there and it's like, then they got to do the thing where you
Right.
take turns or whatever. And that's annoying in and of itself. But it's like, okay, at least we kind of know how to do that part. But like,
Yeah, that one's 50-50.
Well, not even though, because they like it's pretty obvious. It goes like this lane, that lane, and then like the HOV lane gets like 2 or whatever. And it's like pretty easy to figure out the pattern. And these people are like, gee, I wonder which one's going to turn green next. Like, I have no fucking idea. And then they're not ready when it's their turn. And that one's brutal.
That was a really good little grind my gears segment right there. I like that.
Yeah. Yep.
I think you guys have taken a couple of mine. I know, Nick, we definitely have the airplane shared one. Mac, I'd echo the grocery store one. So I have one idea, and then I'm going to give my one giant rant that I have officially kinged the king of traffic rants. Idea. This would only apply to like superstores, like Costco, like Walmart. I don't know if they have
BJ's.
mega targets,
Sam's Club.
Sam's Club, yeah.
Yeah, like all those like wholesale stuff. So, like we all talked, especially during COVID, about like, supporting small businesses and shit. So I would say, and I don't know if I'm in favor of this, but I could see a world where maybe one day this is a thing. They actually they have like a route for supermarkets that are like mega stores where it's like you have to be on this side of the aisle if you're like walking straight, and it's like traffic. Like you literally, it's like a double yellow.
Have you ever been to an Aldi?
Yes.
It's kind of like that.
A little bit like that.
Like you can't go like it.
Yes.
You can't really go like the other way in an Aldi, if that makes sense.
My mom loves Aldi, so trust me, I've been there a bunch.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing to what I'm describing, but here's why I say this. One, for the people who don't get all like super pissed off, like you can't route me in a grocery store, they would be inclined to go to maybe like a farmer's market or somewhere that is like a little smaller and like
and more loiter friendly.
Yeah.
Yes, and now
for the people that want to get in, get out, and go the fuck home like me, this is better.
Yeah, like but if you're still going to go to the superstore, now you actually have to follow the rule. And like you can't just be an asshole who's like the one who's like cutting across and doing all this. I don't know if I'm for that. It's just something I thought about.
Boys, maybe we just need to all start Instacarting or something. It seems like we
too.
Yeah,
shouldn't be going out in public.
I'm surprised that no one has brought up Trader Joe's in this conversation, because that is by far the worst. There is no traffic flow in those stores.
I don't go to Trader Joe's because the one in Kenilworth, like in Towson,
a worst parking lot of all time.
Dude, you can't even get within 5 feet of the parking lot to park in the parking lot to step foot in the store. It's a nightmare, complete nightmare. Anyways, King of Kings for traffic nightmares. Dude, like it's 2023 and we're still rear-ending people. We got cars that drive themselves. We've got like side mirrors that can detect if Houdini is on your right. Like you can't rear-end someone. It's the most preventable accident. And It's a
The
direct
cars brake for you now.
yes. It's a direct result of you tailing someone. That's what it is. You can't rear end someone if you're at least like
I got a 32-year-old Jaguar halfway down 95 that didn't have rear brakes, and I didn't rear end anyone. Like,
It's
yeah,
it's tailing, but I think honestly, more so than not, I think it's just fucking idiots not paying attention. Like
that
they're
too.
looking at their phone or
At
the
their
fucking
phone,
radio or whatever.
changing
And the next
music.
thing they're in the stop and start traffic and they're looking down at their phone or whatever. And next thing they know, they look up and fuck, the car's right there.
Yep.
Bang. Like
well, it's like when we were in Milwaukee, I was saying this to you guys. I was like, I keep getting ads for like this device that turns your CarPlay into something that lets you play Netflix on it. It's like,
how's that
that's not
safe?
okay.
Yeah, like it's too much. And the reason this all happened, I've been a part of 3 traffic jams in the last 4 days, which is more than I can remember in any recent memory. And like, I don't have to drive too much, luckily. I was going home on Saturday, parking lot on 695 on a Saturday at like 7:30. It's like a
Which is
12
just, it's so typical.
it's like a
It's just
12
so
car
typical.
accident because of a rear end. I sat in park for 55 minutes in the
yeah.
middle left lane. I was losing my mind. Today, on the way to work, I don't have to take Pulaski Highway, but people on my team have to take Pulaski Highway. They live like 10 minutes from the office. They got to work at 10:30 because some asshole rear-ended someone. The guy got road rage, tried to shoot the guy that fucking rear-ended him. Cops come. Then the cops are trying to like detain the guy or whatever. The guy tries to like run his car into the cop. Then the cops have to shoot the guy. It's a whole shit show.
Oh
And
my
it's just like
God.
it's insane. And then on the way home, there's a traffic jam right outside of my little street, right? If any of you are familiar, a lot of roller hockey guys out here, Honeygo Boulevard, the court I'm talking about. Right there, you make that little right onto 43. It's a nightmare. Every time it's jammed up, another rear end. I've seen 3 rear end traffic jams just cause my life harm in the last 4 days. So that's presented the question of the day and why I wanted to talk about traffic.
I will say I have noticed like a lot of the rear ends in Baltimore that I see happen are because assholes just that are walking will just step in front of moving vehicles, and the person is just forced to either run someone over or get rear-ended. So
Yep. No, you're right. Jaywalking's pretty big here. But yeah, that was the question of the day presented by Brackish Life, which has nothing to do with traffic. So there you go.